Welcome to Candidly CreaTee. I'm Ilani.
And I'm Lisa.
This is where we connect with people, their ideas, and passions through conversations. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, guys. Hi, sisters.
Good to see you.
So nice to be here.
Glad, glad that this is, this worked out.
Yeah. Yes.
So how's everything?
Thank you for the invitation. We are good with the lockdown. I think we're coming to almost 500 days of getting locked down.
I lost track of time because for one thing, it's just
you
depressing.
Are right.
It's just depressing to sort of like realize how long it has been, and also it's hard. Like I'm getting. I mean, we were pretty okay. We are so used to like working from home, right? But the fact that it's been so long, it really gets to you. You just want to like. Simple things, going out. So yeah, it hasn't, but we're grateful. Most of our family members are fine, and healthy. So at least that's the plus side. But it has been relatively, scary. Like we know people that's been, affected and sick and
Exactly. I was just telling my husband today, now it's almost like a ratio of 1 to 10. Like almost every 10 person one gets it. So it's now the circle is coming closer to us. It's no longer like 100 degrees of separation kind of thing. So it's daunting.
Definitely.
But we've learned to live with it. I mean, I think from a mental health perspective, we need to be mindful in the sense of let it not take over our life. Yes, we're locked down, but that doesn't mean that we go all depressed and like end of life, or
definitely.
I mean, what I always say is that you can't let that get the best of you. You know what I mean?
Correct. I mean, whining is not going to take us anywhere. And especially we have got kids, right? And when we do that, it reflects and then they'll tend to mirror. Because already they are so socially inclusive in that sense, there's just no one besides siblings and us, right? So we try not to put so much of attention of how bad the COVID is. I mean, I feel like my younger one is getting all worked up sometimes, like, did you come back from grocery? Did you went out to buy something? Did you take a shower? Did you sanitize? Poor girls, right? I mean, what do they really understand? Where's the childhood really?
Right. You want to give them that normalcy. So you want them to feel okay. That's the most important thing. How old are the kids anyways?
My kids are 7 and 9. So my 7 is basically this is her first year of a big school, and I think she's missing out so much, like how primary 1 is big school, so exciting, new friends, new environment, compound is huge. But I don't think she has much of it, so it's just she sees her friends through the screen, but there's no bonding. So I'm feeling it for her really, but I guess their minds are so simple. They just see at a face value and they just accept it and just live with it. Adults are so complicated, right? We complain about this, we complain about that,
All right. Okay. So we're glad everybody's safe on your end as well.
Hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully.
And I know we're gonna get through this together. So
hoping every day the light will come.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about you and your business. And it's Chubby Finger Play, right?
Chubby Fingers Play. Yes.
Okay. Let's tell people what it is.
Let's start right there. And how long ago did it?
Actually, it was more of like a little project or hobby. How it started was it's just I was just thinking about how it's been like what year are we right now. It's almost like 6 years coming, or maybe more, plus minus. And it actually started with my elder one, my first child. First mom, firstborn. Being a
and
new
you
mom.
weren't busy enough. You had to start a new venture.
I actually had a day job. I was in corporate for the longest time.
Okay.
So and I was thankful. It was thankfully enough. I was working from home all this while. So working from home is not a major paradigm shift for my husband and I anyway, even with the lockdown. So I was just, in a day, and then of course, being the first time mom, you try to give the best of the best of the best kind of thing. And then at that time, Instagram wasn't very big. I mean, it's there, but it's not like, overblown like now, right? We Google a little bit and see what are the things that we could do, from motor skills, sensory. We try to find options, from food to toys to books, and typically everything. And then I believe that a child should be given the liberty and empowerment to just do, like, you guide them, but you give them a sense of freedom to do what they want. Like, I believe in doodling a lot, coloring, and not dictate them. So we're buying lots of like crayons and stuff, homemade paints and stuff, and that's how she was doodling, And then obviously, because she was like 8 months old, almost, as soon as she can sit, we started all these activities, right? And then it came to a point where, the crayons were snapping, and I thought, you know what, I think I should buy a bigger one. So I bought a jumbo crayons for her instead. And then I realized that she was struggling to hold a jumbo stick, because we assume, I think I will speak for the Asian moms, right? Like, hold the pencil, but obviously it's not working. And then I realized that everything was starting to break. And I said, I was just telling my husband, I said, we could do something with all this. And I went and Googled, and true enough, there was this movement where you could actually upcycle your crayons. And it was through melting. So that's what I did. I went to my kitchen, looked for my baking tools, and then I started collecting everything, and I turned on the oven and I started baking it, and voila, it's like, oh my god, a brand new crayons came out. It's like a novelty shape, and that's how it started. And why Chubby Fingers Play was because, kids, they were 8 months old, they were so chubby, everything's puffy,
right?
And there was so much of focus on the fingers with playing, and I realized that I should call it Chubby Fingers Play, because as I was talking to her, I was also narrating it to her, like, oh, look at your chubby fingers, they're so adorable. Let's see how your chubby fingers could actually, do with this, can do this, show me how your chubby fingers work. And it kind of sticks, and it was natural. So that's how, the name, the brand was born. Then it was from there. And then of course,
so you say
the crayon.
Is it, sorry, it's a
no, it was, then came the crayon bit. So that's how, from there, I thought it was something that I could do. So I started making them, and then started giving it to friends as presents, party packs and stuff.
Right.
So it was just from trial and error. It's not like you really knew exactly, how to. Did you have to, like, YouTube it, research it? Like, how did you even?
It was just a spur of the moment. There was a need. I was curious, and there was a why. Why I was searching for information. It's not like I just sat there and then I just came out of nowhere, So the muse was really my child, right?
Yeah.
So, like, going back to, we always want to give the best. Yeah. So when I discovered that, actually, oh my God, I could actually recreate this without wasting. And that's how I started. And we Googled a little bit, and we were just reading through instructions. I wasn't big of a YouTube fan then, because I didn't believe the screen stuff. So I didn't watch a lot of YouTube with my child as well. So I just read the instructions, all those like blogger moms in the US, and they were like sharing their experiment, and I adapted that, and then I experimented it one night in my kitchen, and that's how I realized that I could actually do this. And I couldn't find a solution in Malaysia. So I thought I could do something with this, and that's how it started.
How long did you experiment? So you said you started giving it to friends. So how long was it when you knew you were just going to sort of like, go for it and really concentrate on it?
So it was just more of like a project, like a weekend thing for fun, And then at that point, there's all these like maker markets where it was like it started to mushroom in some ways, right? And then I was in this mothers group in Facebook, and it was really new, and it would talk about women empowerment, lady empowerment. So I went into it. I said, you know what, I think I can try to join a bazaar like this. It was exciting, and I went and I tried. it was tiring because it was my first time. I never knew what an entrepreneur is. I just thought maybe I just do it for a side income, just for fun, really. And that's how it started. And then I was spending a lot of time at night thinking, oh my God, how do I do the sticker? Oh my God, what's the cost? How do I do this? How do I do that? I went and looked for suppliers. And then it was from there that, and I started talking to people. Moms were like very excited and they're very happy. And then it was from there. Then I realized that I could do more. I think this is like 6 years, actually 7 years ago. There's not much of emphasis of what we could do for a child. It's like the old school thinking would be just like I always tell everybody, right? Is that you just eat a damn broccoli, just a broccoli. But then now it's like you have got organic broccoli, So it's the same thing as my crayons, right? Then it's like everyone said, yeah, all the crayons are made in China anyway. So what's wrong with it? We grew up using those kind of crayons, but I always say, but we have an option now, and things are more complicated now. People are getting sick more often. The air is worse, water is polluted, So it's different from during our parents' time, right? Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely. So I saw a need, and I felt that if I could feel this way, I'm sure 1,000 of moms out there will feel the same or probably more in search of a better option for their child. Yeah, and then it was from there that I realized that, okay, this is not the kind of crayon that I want. I did upcycle it. It was great, but it wasn't what I wanted because it was releasing some form of fumes that's not really good for us. So I cannot imagine my child using it.
Right.
Licking the fingers. And then that's where I really took it to the whole next level. And every night I'll be like Googling for recipes, like what can I do if I do this, if I do that. I'm not a scientist by education. I do not have that talent, but I guess I have the passion for it. So I went and researched, and there's a lot of trial and error for like a couple of months. And I realized that I could actually give a more sustainable, more eco-friendly, healthier option of crayons. So that's how we came into this beeswax crayons that I started doodling. And it was like, I was so excited when I discovered it. So it was from there, and there was no turning back after that. It was great. It was just educating and telling people, this is an option. Why is it better than the store-bought crayons? Of course, it's an option. It's not you must have. But I try to share the awareness, Yeah.
What was your first design that you came up with? What's the very first one of the
dinosaur? It was dinosaur. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually so it was dinosaur, and then followed by animal safari, because these are little things that our kids like. Every child loves dinosaur, they may not be a fanatic, but somehow all parents always teach animals, then dinosaurs, robots and vehicles, so all the themes that I have today, they are all thematic and they are all educational. And I realized that by having shapes like this is great because it solved my problem of not having the crayons to snap all the time. And then when it snaps, what happens? Either you lose sight of it, and then your child may pick up and accidentally eat it, and you go into this choking hazard risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So it actually answers my problem.
Yeah.
So if I could solve it for myself and my child, I can imagine how it can solve for the rest of the moms as well, or dads.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, so I guess that's also part of piggybacking on what you were saying. That also part is how it's environmentally friendly, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The use and the use of it in it. Yeah, the use of the crayons, right?
Of course, because like the store-bought ones, they use paraffin and all, which I will not go into detail, but it's obvious what they are. So I find that, when we source for ingredients, of course, we source for come from a very sustainable supplier that ensure that the bees are not, harmful in that way. So
right.
Are there any difference with the beeswax and the traditional crayons in terms of I wouldn't say the quality, just the effect, I guess.
The feel.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I think that, so for in the eyes of a child, if we look through the lens of a child, to them, when they color, it's just coloring, right? Because their mind is so simple. It is the adult that say, oh, this color is not striking enough. Why is it like this? Why is it chalky and stuff, or so waxy, you know? So that is why just going back to why adult is so complicated and so critical in so many ways, right? Especially in this part of the region somehow. But
because it's so non-traditional, right? So people are not used to it.
Yeah, but if you look at the colors in my crayons, yes, I only have 8 colors because I really love these 8 colors. And I'm not here to sell a spectrum of colors, right? Oh, you go into the cold and the warm, I've got this like mini tone from a white to the beige to the yellow to the peach. I do not have that because I think for a child, they don't need that because my target market is really the early years to maybe 6 and 7 or maybe 8, you know. If you are if you're very serious in coloring and you no longer use my stationeries, right? You would have gone for a proper professional set of colors where you really have a spectrum of tones. But I love the colors. My kids love it because it's striking, and they are waxy, but they glide smoothly. I don't see a problem with that, you know. Yeah, the only difference probably I would say is the odor, the smell of the crayon. The store-bought ones will obviously have a very strong chemical smell, which mine doesn't have. Yeah.
I mean, and the wax, they have a nice smell to it, though, right? It's like a sweet, nice smell.
Sweet, just like how you know makers are using it to make candles, and of course it becomes a bit more of a above average. A bit more premium. I'll put it that way. Of course, right? If you choose an organic lifestyle, everything organic is somewhat more premium than the average ones. Yeah.
So, do you come up with the design? I mean, they're wonderful. They're like so cute.
Yeah.
You know what? It's my dream to be able to have my own mold, but I just couldn't afford that kind of scale because I'm a homemaker. So I just use whatever that I could find in the market. So these are quite common molds, but even they are common, but they are popular.
Yeah.
You know, they are popular, like a lot of, I don't know, jelly makers, they may have used it to make their jellies and all, you know. So to me, it's, so why not, right? I mean, I would love to create my own. Yeah, so that's something that I'm working on. It's slow, unfortunately, with the pandemic. I can't see people, so I was stuck with it, you know. But I'm happy with what I have at the moment because they are just evergreen. I would say dinosaurs are evergreen, transportation evergreen, you know. Unicorn is forever magical. I don't need to recreate another unicorn.
You know, any magical, right? It's always going to be magical. You don't have to create another magical creature. Right.
Yeah, so we just need to redesign other form to work around it, you know.
But maybe along the lines that you probably come up with your original molds and stuff like that.
That's the thing. So I'm working on it, but I was taken aback because of the pandemic. So you know, when you want to, when it's an R&D, you need to see people, right? You need to brainstorm, experiment. You know, it's just unfortunately it's been like on hold for coming 2 years already because we're coming to a year and a half.
It's insane. I think sometimes you know, you sort of, you know, even in our business, like you sort of like hold on, okay, yes, another day, and then you realize, oh, it's 1.5 years is going to be 2 years, you know, so you keep sometimes like hanging in there. You know, maybe the postage service will somehow miraculously be back in service, you know, and then suddenly you're like, oh nope, 6 months later, nope, still waiting. So
still waiting, right?
So I mean. So she's talking about our shipping. I mean, with the pandemic and everything, the way that we usually ship has been stopped. So
there are alternatives. Don't rely on our national service.
You know, but if you were to use the other services, then that's gonna be like, as you know, like triple or quadruple the other, you know, like
I can share. So this is something that I think a lot of people tend to compare, right? Like one of the things that sometimes I get from my customers, they were saying that, oh, your shipping is so expensive. I said, so we came a long way to this, right? I mean, I would love to use our national postage service, but unfortunately the risk is so high. And 9 out of 10 times I had damaged goods. So it's not fair for me or my customers. And I explained to them, they understand it. You know, yeah. I mean, mine is like, can you imagine even like a dinosaur, you know, because I don't blame the person delivering it. I mean, they've got like a million of stuff to do every day. So they'll tend to like just, you know, they tossed it, and I can't stop them, you know. And when it gets damaged, I can't tell the customer, I'm sorry, but it's not my fault. I mean, it's part of my responsibility too. So that's why I say I have to change my shippers to someone more reliable and more accountable. If there's a damage, they will reimburse at the very least. You know, then I don't feel so bad. I could still find a better way to ship to my customers after that. But it's an ongoing problem for everyone.
Like trying to figure out like the best way, you know, to do it.
That is true.
So let's tell our viewers sometimes. I mean, it's crayon, right? I think people think like I love, any kids would love crayon, like even as you know. So, but you know, some people are not like aware. There are like benefits to just even it's simple act of like coloring crayon. It's just not you know, kids just like having fun, right?
I've never seen an adult or come across an adult that hates crayons.
No, but we're talking about kids now.
Kids and adults. Kids and adults. Kids or adults does not like crayons. I would question crayons. Okay. Anyway,
I think for me, it's very natural, right? Because crayon is effortless when you color them if you compare to a color pencil. And also there is no sharp edges for crayons, right? Pencil has got, and then you know, pencil also you may have, you know, the lead will break and then accident happens, right? And then you know, kids, they can't control their strength, so they could be like, you know, I don't know, frustrated kids will be like fighting, and then what if the lead, I mean, when I was young, I had like a mark of a pencil lead, so it may happen to any child anyway. So crayon is natural, it's safe for kids, and then it glides smoothly, and it's the best way to teach the kids how to learn colors as well as motor skills. And it's not very expensive, and it can last very long if you know how to, you know, keep it when you're done.
True. Especially like motor skills, as you say, because it's quite interesting because in our kit we have markers. In our we have markers, and it was very interesting. Like we've met parents, you know, and we've met a child who literally would cry having to hold a marker because they are so used to having electronics. So it's just a swipe. And you said you introduced crayons to your kids like at 8 months, right? So like you started really young with your own child. And I think sometimes parents forget, like, you know, old traditional way of just like holding things with pencils, with crayons are part of their development as well. Right?
And you know, we've had a child that's afraid of holding a marker, seriously, that's so afraid of holding a marker and just got very upset. And the other thing, and the 10-year-old that we've come across that has no idea how a stencil is used.
No, like the
stencil that we have, the animal stencil,
like how
a little model,
how to put the body,
how to put the body together, and you know, the shape together. At 10 years old, you know,
and that's devastating, right?
It is. It's like, because it's such a simple thing, and that's what I was.
That's what we think.
That's what we think, and I think just not having that connection between physically doing something, and I think that's
precisely
why it's like crayons, and you have, it's great, like they're moving, and at least that's it's such a, you are right, such a simple thing, but a lot of people forget.
Yes, the thing is that I think I think if you're a mom 20 years ago, I don't blame you for that, because 20 years old things are simpler. There's no such thing as gadget. It's just kind of dumb. Like you always hear our parents say, right? Oh, we grew up in kampong, we just run around, we don't have to worry about putting mosquito repellents or make sure that we don't fall. Even if we fall, we don't cry. Your infection or fever here because the heat is too hot. All this nonsense stuff that we're so fragile these days. But I think kids, they are so simple, right? The problem parents will forget that so going back to the Asian moms or parents, especially here, it's like they expect the child to know how to hold a pencil. They have forgotten each milestone is so important. This is why, we get a lot of psychologists or child development educators and experts. They come in, they'll say like, why sensory skills are so important. To Asian moms, especially, like, oh my God, the mess. Why are you playing with the beans? Why are you playing with water? Why is the paint all over your head? So because you tend to already filter all this imperfection in your child grew up to be so uptight and everything must be, I already know how to hold a pencil. They've forgotten what it's like. So they forgot about sensory. They've forgotten. It's just like you, right? When, like what you say, when they look at a pen, they're so afraid. But why? You would have thought, which means I could imagine they were young. I could be wrong, but I could imagine they either been traumatized at a very young age, like something happened with a pen maybe, or the mom, because this child could have taken the pen and scribbled all over the wall, and therefore the mom went berserk already. So stressful in their life. I don't need another child drawing my wall. No more pencil. Ban pencils and pens forever until you go to school. It could be. It could be. So this is a very common thing. Like even a lot of my customers, the first thing they always ask me is like, can I wash the wall if my child John bang on the wall? I always tell them, before you think that, it's, child, it's, if you were to teach them from the beginning and nurture them and guide them what needs to be done from the beginning, especially very young toddlers, they just mimic and they follow the process. But when there is no process, they forget, they just go all over. So it is parenting, like it or not, that they need to be guided. I understand parents are busy. But I think I always tell parents with very young toddlers, like 1 year old, they say, 1 year old, can I draw? I say, when I say doodle, I don't mean the child can draw a circle when they are 1 year old, but you just have to let them go. Or you must have a setting and a platform for them to be ready to go all out. But that means you don't just give them a small A4 paper and expect them to draw within the A4 when they're 1 year old. Come on. Right? It's logic. I always say, get the biggest paper you can have and just put it on the floor and let him just doodle. I don't mean doodle for an hour. I mean, 1 year old, what is the attention span?
Right.
Just doodle a little bit and teach them, right? Just like when you eat, wash your hands before you eat, and you sit down properly, cutlery, eat, done, wash your hands, wash your mouth. Same thing when you doodle, take out the box and say, it's doodle time. Here is the space, we draw together, like monkey see, monkey do. So you do it together. After 5 minutes, you can see the boredom. Keep everything back and show, oh, we're done. Let's play again later. Mama is gonna keep this up here, okay? And it will come back. So when you do that, yes, initially it's a bit like, oh my God, I'm like on a broken record thing, but it works. So after that, the child will learn to respect the process, and whatever is given to them, they know this is the limitation. They won't know it's a limit, but when they look at a box of crayon, they understand that this is for doodling in paper or in coloring book. And when I'm done, I keep everything back and set it aside and I move on to something. So when this kid, I don't see the problem, Of course, I mean, I'm not saying that it's 100% it will work, but I'm sure if perseverance is there, patience is there, it makes the mom's life so much better, or even the caretaker,
Right. But how do you feel about like arts? I think again, like coming back to our experience, it's like arts is, because doodling, again, your point, like maybe like Asian, they don't see so much value because it is art. It's not, they're not doing math or calculation, at a certain age, right? The expectations is always, you've got to sort of like do something beneficial, for, not like, because I don't think a lot of people, I would see art as beneficial at all to kids. And I think half of our battles sometimes is just like trying to
half of our battle
educate, like there are benefits, there's growth in a child of doing arts, all the motor, like you said, motor skills and eye-hand coordination and the brain works and things like that. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not well, I guess as a culture, I think as a culture,
yes,
as a culture, don't are so separated. I think the one that appreciate art is like one, and then you have people who don't see it also. It's almost a very we're very separated. I think more people are not quite aware, I think, how arts do help with our everyday life. I mean, what would life be without arts in general? But it's just not instilled in our culture for that. I mean, how has your experience?
I think I always tell parents that, well, a lot of my customers who buys it, they know that coloring is, I won't say they know coloring is important. It's a very natural thing that my child will color, because when adult use pen or pencil, the child wants to use it too. So the parents will say, you know what, I need to get something for you so that you look like you are an adult coloring, right? But I also tell the parents that coloring is actually therapeutic. There are this thing called like color therapy. When a child goes through a very distressed period, coloring actually calms them down. It's like meditation, you just focus on that thing, the coloring, and you just color, and it's soothing. And so the process of soothing yourself is taking your mind away from everything else when you're coloring. That's why even adults are going to this coloring, like watercolor is so big right now, and how you read so many people saying that, oh, it's so calming, it's so smooth, especially now with the lockdown, it's so nice, it's with the music. Can you imagine what a child goes through when they're coloring? The stress part will come when adults start imposing restrictions, like color within the lines. Why is your color so ugly? Why is the dinosaur purple and dinosaur? Did you know dinosaur is brown? Why did you color? So I always tell parents that don't dictate what the child colors. Again, they are not professional at this age. Professional leave it later. It's natural, they will learn it. So you have to let them explore. When you start putting limitation, it's a turn off. I mean, for me, it happens to me sometimes with my child. I'll say like, oh, why is it this way? Why is it not that way? And then you'll see like, you can feel they're rolling their eyes, even though they're not. The body language tells me so, right? And then I realized, okay, I'm doing it again. I shouldn't be. I should let them explore naturally and express, because you'll be surprised what you could see out of that.
Definitely. Yeah. And you're right, it's a mindset.
Exactly.
Mindset us as an adult as well. We have to realize that.
Yes.
I mean, I was guilty. I mean, I'm a designer by trade. So, everything, needs to be, nice and perfect and, design wise. So, and then my sister is the educator. She used to teach kids. So it's
wow, you've got the perfect combination. I'm just going to take a picture quickly.
I have a psychology background and an early childhood. So
wow.
So when I started designing, and any other thing, my knowledge of kids are relatively not very high. So I always say, oh, we need like the sexy pen, we need everything. And then and she's like, no, again, like you were telling us about the story, like kids holding, right? Like I wasn't aware kids needed like a really
the chubby fingers. So I told her, so so I said we got to get the marker, the chubby markers, basically, like, like the
and also in the process of this, like, I would see kids' creation and they are so happy. Like, even if they draw outside the line, it's all like messy. And as a designer, I'm just like cringing here, right? I'm like, oh my God, you're like, what is that? It's like, why is it crooked? Why is like, in the first time when I'm seeing this, like, oh my goodness, right? And of course, my sister said, like, calm down, like, that's the case. But I've learned, I feel like it is so true. It is their expression. It doesn't matter what we say, what we think. They are so proud of what we do, and that's what it should be.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Because I think we need to realize that you need to give space to the child to develop, right? Just like when they start to, they don't just walk when they're born. They go through, like, crawling, and eventually learning how to stand, and then taking the first few steps. From the first few steps, and it was running, and then learning to jump. All this. So it's the same thing as coloring. It's like they grip things with the entire palm. I mean, you're a early childhood teacher, so when they grip, they don't just go. The pincer grip is gold. So it was, so everything has got a logic, but the thing is that parents cannot understand this, and that is why so when I started with my child, my 9-year-old, when she was in primary 1 in school, I actually volunteer to teach, not teach in a sense of for the kids who need in like a 30-minute slot every day to teach them how to read, whether it's Bahasa or English or Mandarin, so to speak. And when you see them hold a pencil, they can't even hold a pencil properly, let alone writing it. And that's why they need a lot of help. And people fail to understand why they are such, not because they are underprivileged or they are not well or they are special needs or they are a perfect child. It's just, unfortunately, they didn't go through the proper the steps that they needed,
That's right.
So people it's underestimated.
And that's
the problem.
A good word,
so now with all this world of screens and gadgets, it takes away even all this. Is like you accelerated their childhood. Like you say, right, I've got no patience to color. I just want to just use my screen and just go like this, and then erase at one new page. I don't have to erase or work very hard. That is our biggest problem too. We are constantly fighting with the screen with our kids.
Do you find I mean, these are definitely issues we've encountered with our customers as well, like parents, our customers, the knowledge base. Do you find that you have to educate them most of the time, or is it for crayon, it's a non-issue, they just buy, like you say, like, there are benefits to it as well, good benefits, or people who knows, right? Like, it's almost like people who knows the benefit is a no question, like, okay. But how about other people you want to reach that might not know, like, really the benefit? Like, do you educate them about that, or it's just, you just leave it to, like,
okay, if I can, okay, the extension is like, okay, let's say if we go to bazaars, let's say we let's do pop-up markets, right? We spend a good 20 minutes. I mean, I would say a good 20 minutes. If somebody just comes to the table and sees the child being interested, you know what I mean? Like, we'll have the child draw at the table and the child is interested, and we'll talk to the parents. When the parents talk to us, then maybe, like, they'll get to see or understand what the benefit is. You know what I mean? What the benefit of the kid is. It's just not some parents. We've had some comments about, it's just, doodle, scribble on a t-shirt. I mean, it has been described that we want to spend, like CreaTee has been described as like, oh no, do we really want to scribble that on the t-shirt? But once we explain it, they understand. And that's not, like, they understand and they get it. So
in your experience, in your product, like, does that happen?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of very common questions that I normally ask, and probably my battle too. Challenge is that the first thing they always say is like, oh, it's crayons. Oh, okay, what is so special? Their minds, I don't blame them because they never knew, right? And we're talking about math right now. So they will say, oh, it's just a crayon. It's okay, we'll go. Because then the question of what is so great about your crayon versus the store-bought crayons? Because, okay, the first thing people look at is like how deep of pocket they have to pay for it. And I'll be very honest, yes, our crayons, our wood doodle crayons are premium, but let's look at why is it premium. It's the ingredients, not because, yes, they are handmade, but because they made of good ingredients, right? Just like when you want to have broccoli, you pay triple the price of a organic broccoli, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, they'll say, oh, another crayons, no, it's rubbish, you know, or my child has plenty of it. Okay, let's go. But then you have this child, like, they're holding on to it and constantly want to color, you know, they'll say like, oh, we have plenty at home. But I said, you know, once they use the kind of speech to say we've got plenty at home, I will not argue because I understand the pain and I understand also it's cost efficiency, right? I just bought a big box of crayon for my child, and then here we are in a supermarket, and then my child sees something new and like, oh, I want something new. The notion of buying something else again for my child, and you know, he's going to get excited now, but when go home, he's going to chuck it aside, right? So when they come with that kind of sentiment, I will just explain to them that if you already have a box of crayon, please use it, and I'll teach them what they can do with it. You know, they'll say no, they will doodle the wall, and then I'll also explain how do you circumvent that. Yes, you already have it, but nothing is fixed, nothing is constant, it can be undone. These are the things, questions that are you willing to invest that kind of time and patience to go through this to nurture your child back to, you know, recovery, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay.
Second thing, that parents who has got bigger, larger pocket to spend and willing to spend on a child, and they already say, I have already a crayon, what is so special about your crayon? And then I'll explain to them from the benefits of the ingredients to the shape to the logic of why, and then say, okay, I'll get one. Most of the time, the first parent, like being a first timer parents, basically, they are willing to listen because they do not have they've got nothing to compare, and they want to give the best. If they can afford it, why not? And I don't blame them because I was a first time parent then. But if I was being a first-time parent with my child and I come across someone selling, I will buy too, because I want to give the best to my child, not because for the sake of buying it, but the underlying benefits of it. It's so much better than what a regular store-bought crayon could offer, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the third thing is that how, from besides the ingredient, how safe it is versus a stick crayon, because I always tell them, I say, you should not worry so much with the ingredient. You should worry about what happens. You have got broken crayons lying everywhere in the house. The choking hazard that you're facing is far greater than how toxic that product is.
Yeah, great.
And then they realize, and then suddenly it just dawned upon them like, oh my God. You know? Yeah. And then of course the notion of, because it's locally made, not many people like, but if you tell them this is imported from the US, you know, this, and then they're like, oh, of course you don't, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But our locals are great, I must say. You know, I think they are also more this like kita jaga kita kind of thing, support local movement. I think it's been great for the past couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, those are the few things, you know. I think customers who goes for all this bazaar have the mentality is that they're willing to spend and they're willing to give things a different thing. They're looking for something different.
I mean, that's why they go out anyhow, right? Because like they go out
precisely
like different kind of products and things like that.
Correct. Always willing to try and support. Yeah.
So do you, like, I think that she mentioned we've never like met any adults that hate crayons, right? Other than probably you're at the walls, they're afraid the kids would ruin the wall. But as like adults, would you do something for adults, like crayons for adults? Like, would there be something that you would, I mean, you know, stress releaser kind of thing for adults?
You know what, whether you believe, you know, I actually, during my earlier days when I was in bazaar, maybe now I still have it, I don't know, but when you do face-to-face, you hear all kinds of stories.
Yeah.
You know, when you meet customers, they'll tell you, I do have like art students, you know, when they university, actually, when they're doing like designing, they actually come and buy my crayons, my stick ones, because they wanted the color. Because when they design, they need all sorts of spectrum colors, right? So I had that at some point. I also had like boyfriends buying for girlfriends.
Cute.
Because yeah, it's like this notion that, they like to collect cutie stuff, and when they say, oh, my girlfriend loves unicorn, my girlfriend likes this, I'm gonna buy this for her.
Are they young enough to date? If she likes unicorn, are they old enough to date? That's the question I have.
No. I mean, they are young adults. How many they could spend? Okay. Yeah. I mean, we have all walks of life buying our stuff. Right? Grandmas buying for their grandchildren. We've got neighbors buying for neighbors. They got like nephews, cousins buy for nephews, like all walks pretty much.
Yeah. So not just I think that's great. I think that's what we were, we saw that as well. It's good for gifts. So it's just not necessarily just for the kids, right? So I think some adults would appreciate that. As well. So
yeah.
That sounds like a future plan for the brand.
I don't know, but you know what? There's so much more to offer. There's so many more kids, so many more parents. I feel that I've not reached out enough. So if until I reach a point where it's so saturated, which is a good problem, which I'm not there, of course. If you're saturated, then of course you think about other ways. But I think there's so much room for me to fill up at this moment. So many more things that I could do, Yeah. So it's like I'm trying to create more things so that, it's just like, you have customers who first, they always start off with buying your crayons, and then they come again like, okay, what else do you have? Oh, you have this, you want to buy, and then they'll come back, and then you kind of like grow with their child too. So, I've got a couple of customers where I pretty much watch the kid from 1 to like they're 5 years old today, because we are all on Instagram, and I could actually see the child growing up. So it's so sweet.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the relationship that we have. Yeah, it's nice.
That is awesome. Well, that's.
I think we covered most things that most things in the conversation.
Well, I guess we can end.
Where can folks find you?
Yes,
so they can check out all your.
So I have an online store right now. I do not have a physical store, which we really don't need it, because it's like, outdated to have a store anyway. You can find me on chubbyfingersplay.com.
Okay.
It's an online store. Yeah, pretty straightforward. You can also find me in Instagram.
Okay. Same handle.
Yes, same handle.
Yes. Okay, same handle.
Yeah, one word.
We will add that as well in the description, so
we'll
people
definitely put it in the description.
Find you.
Yeah.
So thank you. I think we've learned a lot about your brand and what you're going through and things like that. So it's nice. I think sometimes we need the pain that you're going through.
The feeling of, like you said, we're taking care of, like the connection, the friendship, the relationship.
Yeah, the community, right?
The
we need to support each other,
right?
Yeah. And especially with this pandemic right now, I think it's great. People are more supportive. In the past, if you talk about 3 years ago, people would even pay attention, right? Because they're too busy traveling and having like more premium products. But now it's like, anything that is accessible, I could just get it online and have it delivered. I'm more than happy to just support. I'm there to support, So it's great. And I that's the great thing about being Malaysians, right? We are all, multiracial and try to be very accommodating, and which I don't see much in other parts of the world. So I think we should be proud of ourselves, despite whatever that's happening.
Yes, I know, right? Yeah, definitely. So it's great. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies.
And then when this whole, when this whole thing is over, definitely we'll head over, meet up, and then, over a cup of coffee.
We have to go
right.
for Mama.
I
love to see what you have.
Right? It's the basic things in life. What's the first thing you want to do?
Go to Mama. Hey, I'll claim to being basic. I am so basic. I'll be completely happy right this second. We'll head out, for a cup of tarik, and Mama,
exactly, right? Like
over
roti
some
canai,
roti,
like
over some roti.
exactly.
Diet.
I'm good to go.
Yes, it's like I meet a lot of makers over all these Nescafe Tare and stuff. Not even like Starbucks or whatever. It's literally like one morning after drop off the kids, and then we just sit there and a quick catch up. And then you spark ideas from there, and I love that. I'm obviously missing that.
Yeah, build a community, and who knows, maybe we'll come up with something great that we can work together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
you guys are great,
I know. So it's just like, and I think that's what's good about Instagram and all that, right? Like we can connect, but having to talk to you even is so much better. Like then we know in so much more detail of like what you do and all that. So it's so much so much more nicer that way. So
it's it's nice. So it's been great talking to you. We have to see each other real soon. So
I hope so.
Take care.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Okay, good night.